Secondary School, the home of the Sherwood Saints. Thank you all for coming out on such a lovely, glorious, dry evening for this event tonight. My name is Lee Gowers. I'll be your host or moderator for this evening. And of course, we are here to meet the wonderful people who have bravely put their names forward to run for trustee for the Hamilton-Wentworth District School Board. First of all, I think we should thank and congratulate all these people for having the wherewithal and the nerve to do what they're doing. This event, like 6 others being run across the city in the next few weeks, has been organized and hosted by the Hamilton-Wentworth Council of Homeschool Associations. Because we're here and because they've given me the microphone, I'm going to tell you a little bit about homeschool in Hamilton. In 1927, the first association was started by Mr. J.A. Little, who was the principal at George R. Allen School out in the west end of the city. 2 years later, he moved to Ryerson and started another association. By 1933, there were enough associations in the area to form representing all the associations in the area. It formed as the Hamilton Council. Later, as things grew and changed, it split and became the Hamilton Council and the Wentworth Council. And then later, when boards were amalgamated, it became the Hamilton-Wentworth Council. No matter what the name, for over the past 80 years, homeschool members have had as their main objective to obtain the best for each student, at home, at school, and in the community. With that in mind, homeschool members have fought for the protection of children at busy intersections, including having the speed limits reduced within school zones. They fought for affordable student accident insurance, which is why you get that little form home at the first of every school year. They have lobbied for compensation for our friends, the caretakers, when schools are used after hours. They picketed in March to have the city build recreation centers. And once they were built, and built properly where we wanted them, we then lobbied to have the neighborhood children allowed to use those swimming pools and incorporate swimming lessons into their phys ed curriculum. At one time, they lobbied the movie theaters in town to have movies that contain violence or questionable languages shown in the evening, leaving the matinees for fare more suitable to our children and youth. And not so long ago, they actually got the board to change their policy, the purchasing policy for paint, so that they would only purchase vegetable-based, washable paint for use by children doing arts and crafts. On a more global scale, homeschool members provided layouts for newborn babies in Great Britain during the Second World War, led the Mothers' March on Polio, and helped organize mass X-ray sessions so that they could identify and then treat tuberculosis. Activities have included mothers' choirs, spelling bees, music festivals, including the infamous Tuba Festival just a few years ago, and the annual Teacher Staff Appreciation Week held in February of each year. At this time of year, the middle of October, I'd like to remind you that it was home and school that first got those little orange UNICEF boxes brought into the schools, distributed to the children so they could carry them with them as they went trick-or-treating on Halloween night. And home and school was also instrumental in having the schools kept open on November 11th so that children would be in the classes learning the significance of that day rather than outside riding their bicycles. The council has been busy for over 85 years. I'm very proud to say that from this council, 5 people have gone forward to become the president of the Ontario Federation of Homeschool Associations. And next spring, we will have a 6th president from this area. So for all those people who think that school councils are the ones that do the work, and home and school has the fun and does the fundraising, I'd ask you to just think a little bit about some of the things I've just told you that home and school has been and continues to be responsible for in the Hamilton area. Okay, that was our public service announcement for this evening. We are now moving on, and I'll just let you know how things are going to go tonight, or how they're supposed to go tonight. We're going to start with our introduction and opening remarks from each of the candidates. We will be pulling their names out of a lovely blue bag, so they'll be coming up to you in random order. They will have 2 minutes to introduce themselves and explain either why they're running for trustee or what they think are the important issues. This is completely open to them, what they want to talk about. We do have a timekeeper. I'll just warn you, candidates, she's a meanie. She will give you the warning at 30 seconds, and when she figures your time is done, we'll have a hook, and you're finished. So after the introduction and opening remarks, the candidates will then be called again in random order to answer one of 3 questions that was posed to them, which they received ahead of time, that come again from the Hamilton-Wentworth Council of Home and School Associations. They will have 3 minutes to answer those questions. We'll then have some closing remarks and take questions from the floor. If you have a question that you would like to pose to any or all of the candidates, we welcome you to come over to my left, your right, and there are papers here and pens, so you can fill out and put your question there, and we'll gather those up. We want to make sure that the same question doesn't get asked 20 times, so we will sort of be going through them and filtering them to make sure that that doesn't happen, and then we'll call on you during that open question period to pose your question from the floor. After the formal part of the meeting, we invite you to meet the candidates in an informal session out in the lobby, and then you can talk to whoever it is you want to talk to and make friends, ask questions, whatever it is that you want to do. So, any questions before we go? Everybody ready? Timekeeper all set? Okay. I'll just drop the name tag because I know who I am. Hi. Oh, you're Angie. There we go. Come on up. Have a seat. Right up here. Okay, thanks. Okay. All right, we're going to do this for the ladies in the audience who know what it's like to be at a bridal shower. We're going to do this the same way. The first person's going to speak, and then they'll pick a name out of the bag, and that'll be the next person to speak, and we'll go on until we're out of names. Sound fair? Okay. So I will pull the first name out. And I have from Ward 8, Mr. Chris Litfin. And Chris, you can either come here or use the microphone at the table, whichever is, it's up to you.
I'll come over here because standing at that microphone makes me look really tall. Even this microphone, actually. All right, so hi, my name is Chris Litfin. I'm one of the candidates for Public School Board Trustee in Ward 8. Before I get down to business, I'd like to thank the Hamilton-Wentworth Council of Home and School Associations for hosting this event and others like it. I'm proud to say that the schools that I was educated in had home and school associations. They played a vital part in the school, and I wish that all schools had them. I really do. So I don't need to tell you that education is an important issue. You're here, you know that. I mean, the education system is one of the most influential things in a student's life, apart from their parents, we hope. For that reason, we really can't afford to keep playing games with how education works in the city and in the province. I mean, the stakes are too high here. There are some people that say that what you should be looking for in a candidate is experience. And I agree with that. I think you should be looking for a candidate who has recent relevant experience in classrooms and in schools, in secondary and elementary schools. And I'm one of them. I only recently graduated high school. It was 2.5 years ago, give or take. And since then, I've been volunteering in classrooms throughout the city, supporting arts programs and school events. I've been in the trenches. I know what it's like. The Hamilton-Wentworth District School Board has shaped my life in more ways than you can imagine, and I was lucky. The schools I was in really did put students first. And unfortunately, it's not necessarily the case anymore, where the schools are beholden to the province and to regulations and blah, blah, blah. And I think that we can really change that in Hamilton. On the 27th of October, you'll be faced with a choice. And I thank you.
On October 27th, is the municipal election. However, there are 5 advanced polls being held this year, the first one being this Thursday. So if you're going to be busy on the 27th or you just want to get it out of the way, I urge you to get out and vote. Vote early, but remember to vote. Oh, hold on. If you are voting for trustee for the Hamilton-Wentworth District School Board, you will be getting a ballot that has a blue header on the top, which signifies English Public, that being your school board support. I'm filling time here because our timekeeper has run out. Stay tuned. I'll give you some warning. Our next candidate is from Ward 6, Tanya Prosser. And Tanya, you can sit there if you like, or you can come here, entirely up to yourself.
Good evening. Thank you for all that are in attendance. Thank you to the Hamilton-Wentworth Council Home and School Association for hosting tonight, as well as the other nights they're hosting across the city. My name is Tanya Prosser, and I'm running for Ward 6 School Board Trustee. I've been fortunate enough to have lived in Ward 6 for the past 5 years, after spending most of my life growing up in the east end of Hamilton. We settled into our new neighborhood right before my oldest was getting ready to enter, JK. Everybody was excited. He was denied entry because he was not toilet trained. We were awaiting a developmental specialist appointment. I was told to contact my trustee at the time, who, whether it was miscommunication, simple error, never returned our calls. My little guy stayed home that year. The following year, he was enrolled with a note from his doctor with an autism spectrum disorder diagnosis. Unfortunately, over the past 4 years since his entrance into school, I've gotten to see the ins and outs of what it's like in the board today. Not only myself, but many that I have spoken to, there seems to be a lack of trustee assistance in this ward. Many parents have told me the same thing. We seem to lack having our voices heard or even having a voice. I think it's time for that to change. I believe that we need accountability, transparency, and responsibility to this ward, to our students, to our parents, and to our taxpayers. I ask for your vote on October 27th to represent the people of Ward 6, not just the special interest groups, but the community as a whole. Thank you.
There we go. No hook required. There you go. Next to speak to you is running for trustee in Ward 7, Mr. Marlon Picken. Sorry, I'm just going to say I should warn. I don't want to make all of you nervous, but apparently we are being live streamed tonight. Which somebody told me, so, just stand up here and look pretty and do your best, and don't mean to make you nervous, but there you go. I thought I better let people know that was going on.
Well, thanks,
Okay.
Lee. Yeah. Hi there. It's great to be back on. I remember I was here 4 years ago. My name's Marlon Picken. I'm running for Public School Board Trustee in Ward 7. I'm an environmental aide from the Juravinski Hospital. I was compelled already to run 4 years ago for this position when Hill Park was put up to the chopping block. Since then, 3 more schools have been put up for closure: Linden, Eastmount, and Cardinal Heights. Cardinal Heights and Hill Park are 2 schools that I've attended. What sort of gives me hope is the opportunity we have now to explore the alternatives to closures that have the potential to generate much needed new revenue in our school system, enrich communities, and I think the most important thing is keep students in walkable community schools that are located in their neighborhood. There has been a disconnect for what some parents say has been almost 20 years between neighborhoods and communities and the Board of Education. I believe that we need to take every point of contact, every opportunity we have to have an ongoing, meaningful conversation. The current practice, some folks have told me at the door, made them feel threatened and that it wasn't worth getting involved because decisions were already made. What matters ultimately is what the community believes and what they communicate their needs to be. With it's not just parents and students that are part of the solution. We have an opportunity to connect with worker groups. We have an opportunity to connect with, or responsibility to connect with the city councilor, with the city of Hamilton, to build opportunities together, enriching our neighborhoods. Together, I believe that we can do that, and we can spend the next 4 years, the next term of the board, building communities and neighborhoods up instead of tearing them down. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'd like to thank Home and School for giving us this opportunity, and see you later.
Okay, so far our random draws have got us one candidate from each ward. Couldn't have planned it better. We now call on trustee candidate in Ward 6, Angie Armstrong. Watch that step, it's a little narrow.
So, good evening, and thank you for having me here this evening. I'm sure that it's nice to see everybody out on such a wet night. First of all, my name is Angie Armstrong, and I'm the candidate for Ward 6, Public School Trustee. I urge you to vote for me as your trustee for several reasons. First of all, I am a long-standing resident of Hamilton for over 20 years. Having immigrated from England in the early 80s, I lived in Toronto, working for Workers' Comp, and was transferred to Hamilton. Once I relocated here with my family, there was no looking back, and I became a Hamiltonian. So my children have gone to school in Hamilton. They've gone through the elementary, they've gone through the secondary and college system. I now have my grandchildren who are in the elementary system, both of them, two of them actually, in the French immersion program. To be a contributing member of society, I believe in participating in the community, and I have certainly done that since 1984. I have worked for the corporate, nonprofit, and public sectors, together with holding a number of positions on boards and community organizations, such as I have been a governor at the Mohawk College for 6 years, and then on to the foundation. I'm also a certified facilitator for the Cooperative Housing Federation of Canada. So as your trustee, I will raise the awareness of the community within Ward 6. The residents of Ward 6 are asking for accountability, transparency, and communication, and those are areas that are my priorities. Presently, as a pre-planning director of a local cemetery and funeral business, I commit to follow through with families within diverse communities, and I look forward to listening to your points of view, your concerns and your ideas, and I will take them to the table and bring the information back to you. Thank you very much for hearing me this evening. Thank you.
Sure. Great, thank you. Oh, yep, okay. Okay, next in the hot seat, also running in Ward 6, is Al Miles.
Thank you for this opportunity. The reason why I've decided to run is because I went to Barton. I have a passion for the schools in this ward, and I also was assistant coach for 10 years at Barton, so when they closed that up, it caused me to get involved. Another reason is when I found out that the current trustee for the last couple of years has not actually gone to schools and to graduations, to really get in and be with the principals and the teachers and to really find out what's happening. I just felt sad for those schools, because that relationship is an important relationship. And my experience is I've worked with youth for 35 years. Last 16 years, I've been working with young offenders in the prison systems, but now I'm with the troubled treatment kids. So to wrap it up, I'm just saying, I know how all the treatment kids and all the things that I can bring to the table. I'm hoping to be a resource in that area for all the real behavioral troubled kids. Thank you.
Thanks. I just wanted to mention that there are actually 5 candidates running in Ward 6, which is the East Mountain, 3 candidates running on the Center Mountain, Ward 7, and 2 in Ward 8, which is on the West Mountain. And I'm sure you all know what ward you're in, but I thought I'll just let you know. And from the far west, running in Ward 8 is Mr. Wes Hicks.
Good evening, and thanks to the Home and School for the opportunity to say a few words tonight to you. There's been a lot of change in the past 4 years at the board, and we've been in the planning stage, but now we're in the implementation stage. And I'm really looking forward to being engaged and excited of what's going to happen in the next 2 years to carry out the planning. So that's one of the main reasons I'm running tonight. The other issue tonight, I think you have to know the qualifications of the individuals that are running. I'm well aware of the educational issues in Ward 8. I've lived in the Ward 8 for 48 years. My children and grandchildren were educated in Ward 8 in Shadoke, Holbrook, and McNabb secondary schools. My 2 grandchildren are teachers, and my daughter is a high school teacher as well. I bring 20 years of retail business, 19 years of being a professor, director of athletics, and retired dean of students at Mohawk College. There are 3 areas that I'd like to highlight very briefly of why I'm running tonight. The first reason for tonight is that Terry Whitehead, the councillor for the city, and I have worked very, very closely on projects. The first project that in the last 2 years we completed was the new recreation center at Westmount, and the pool and the senior citizens. And without the help of Terry and without the help of board, that rec center wouldn't be there. Secondly, we're just completing the tendering process for the McNabb new football field and the new track at McNabb High School. It shows you exactly why it's important to work for the councillors. Secondly, the most important thing that all trustees here tonight are to increase student achievement, increase the math scores, literacy, and so forth. So it's extremely important. I'm looking forward to the challenge to doing that for the next couple of years. The other reason I ran today is that there are minimum of 7 new trustees running. And I think it's extremely important that you have some experience to make sure that you use the policies and procedures that you have, but also to recognize the new ideas and directions that are coming to the board. Again, thank you for the Home and School, and I appreciate it tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. There we go. Okay, from the far west to the far east, or the near east, or whatever, we're in Ward 6 and Kathy Archer.
Good evening, everybody. When I was in public school, my maiden name was Wild, so I was last. And I married Archer, and I was always the first. Now I'm kind of in the middle here. But I want to say thank you to the Home and School Association. My daughter's 32 years old, and I had the pleasure of joining the association when she started school. And I was your block parent captain for the Central East Mountain also many, many years ago. Also became involved with the parent council when that was implemented in the boards. My family, I've raised my children, my husband and I, for the last 32 years in the Ward 6 area. Most of you know that I've been very involved in the community as volunteering, working with special needs children, driving school bus for 25 years now that I'm retired. I miss that. 2003, I had the opportunity of running for the first time as school board trustee. And the reason why I ran is issues with the board and lack of communication. And I had the opportunity to serve in Ward 6, 2003 to 6. It was a difficult time picking up the pieces of 5 school closures. It was very difficult, and we've been hit again, Ward 6, and we need, it's a lot of work, and I congratulate each and every one of you for putting your name forward. It's a lot of work, and I just thank you for giving me the opportunity to be able to run again. I thought long and hard, and it is going to be a lot of work, but I know that I can do that, and I will be your full-time trustee, and I do return calls. You remember emails. I do the visits, and we will bring back the ward meetings again, and I do work with our counselor in Ward 6, which is Tom Jackson. It's also key to work with all trustees. We all need to work together, and counselors too. Thank you very much.
Okay. And from Ward 7, Dawn Danko. There she is.
Thank you very much. I was hoping I wouldn't be the last one picked. It's like my students in class, please not me at the end. My name is Dawn Danko. I am one of your candidates in Ward 7 for Public School Board Trustee. I want to start by just acknowledging all of the candidates at the table. It is not an easy thing to put your name forward for trustee, and I really admire the passion that everybody has for positive change in our education system. I really respect my competitors, and I'm looking forward to the new board because whoever you get, you are getting really good options. The reason I'm running for the Public School Board Trustee in Ward 7 is because I've really felt called to do it. I feel that I've learned a lot about the school board throughout the recent accommodation closure process for the elementary schools in the Central Mountain. I've attended numerous meetings. My husband was considering running, and I said, you can't handle these meetings. They're far too formal. And what I learned was that we need balance on the school board. And where I bring balance is my background in education. I have experience for about 4 years teaching at Mohawk College. I have just done my Master's of Science in Education, and I have current knowledge about implementing technology in the classroom, which is one of the biggest changes we are going to see over the next 5 and 10 years that is going to impact our students and their success. I also have experience with business. I've run a small business with my husband for about 10 years, and I'm also a parent with school-age children in our education system. So I understand concerns, and I actually really appreciate concerns about some of the curriculum changes that have been happening. The school board trustees have a very broad range of decisions to be made, and those include school closures, budgetary setting, policies about parent and community engagement, and I see exciting opportunities to bring our communities and our families to our schools, develop schools as community hubs, and really engage everyone in Hamilton to make our education system the envy of the world. We can do better for our communities and for our children, and I hope you'll elect me on October 27th. Thank you.
Okay, from Ward 6 again, where, there's a lot of people running in Ward 6 and no incumbent, so it's going to be a wide open thing, and whoever we get is going to be brand new. Ward 6, Eamon, right? Eamon O'Donnell.
I'd like to start off thanking everybody for being here tonight and the Home and School Council for putting this on. My name's Eamon O'Donnell, and I've grown up in Ward 6 and have lived here for most of my life. This is the community that I'm raising my family, where my daughter goes to school and my friends are. I'm a multi-licensed tradesman with over 27 years of experience in the construction and maintenance of institutional, commercial, and industrial buildings. During my years of working, I have seen from start to finish the construction of 4 elementary schools, 2 high schools, and 2 school renovations, along with countless other projects. I have an excellent understanding of what it takes to construct and maintain buildings, and I know what questions to ask to get the correct work done. I chose to run for trustee because, like most of the opponents here tonight, I have grown increasingly concerned about the lack of fiscal foresight and accountability to the community by the board. While some candidates will tell they have watched the proceedings, I can tell you that I've been active in them. For close to 4 years, I've attended board, community, and ARC meetings. I have addressed the board in formal presentations regarding closures. I have lobbied to save our schools and attempted to halt the closures in the South Arc. Additionally, I consulted with community activists in the fight against closures in Ward 1 and 2, and most recently, Ward 7. One reason I want to serve is because I have solid facilities knowledge. I would bring to all facilities decisions, whether closure or development planning, strong experience to ask the right questions, request the correct information, and advocate for public, detailed, multi-year facility plans. We all know that the data that the board used was flawed. It was through identifying the flaws in the part that schools such as Sherwood and Queensdale were able to make a case to stay open. The board has a history of decisions with no planning to support them, from programming and boundary changes with no busing strategy, temporary fixes to buildings instead of permanent ones that ultimately cost more money. I'm done. I've got a lot more to say, so elect Eamon O'Donnell and you'll hear a lot more. Thank you.
I think that's yours.
Not mine, somebody's though.
Is that yours?
Yeah, no. Okay. We're accumulating paper up here. I'm not even sure what it all is. And last but not least is Sarah Wari Poljanski, right? Got it. Okay. And Sarah is running for trustee in Ward 7.
Hello. Thank you to the Home and School Association for having me here and the rest of my candidates for coming. Thank you, the audience for coming. So a little bit about me. Me and my husband, we bought our house almost about 8 years ago up here, Central Mountain. This is where he grew up. I'm from down in the East End. We have 2 children. They are both in the elementary school system here. My son's at Linden Park, which is closing, and my daughter's at Cardinal Heights, which is also closing. My background is that I'm an addictions worker, which means I'm a counselor, and I primarily work with drug and alcohol users. My background, instead of sitting behind a desk in some place like West Fifth or John Howard Society, I've actually worked with children and youth. I would go and work in group homes because I decided that I wanted to work first line with children that most of society had given up on. In between then, I would go and I'd work in the elementary schools within the city through the YMCA, through their kinder care program and after school programs, and then I'd teach soccer and hockey in various organizations. Children and youth have always kind of been my passion, so I decided it's been a long break, so I'm getting back into it. I became really involved with the school closures because I think education is one of the best things that we give our children in society. We live in somewhat of a socialist society, and it is our responsibility as adults to be good role models and provide for our children so that we can pave a good future for them. If we want them to have a good future, we need to start with giving them a good present. So what I would like to do if I was elected your trustee is put at least a 5-year moratorium on the school closures. We need to review what they're doing. We need to make sure that the schools that we're closing warrant to be closed. I want to see the special needs and special education funding rise. What we're seeing in society is we're seeing the level of children being identified as requiring help rise as the services we're providing them drop. We're seeing dropout rates somewhat of almost 1 out of 2 high school students. If we don't have transportation to get our kids to schools from inside Ward 7 into Ward 6 and 8, that will continue to rise as well. We need to make sure our high school students also have opportunities for jobs. So I'm done. Okay. Please vote for me on October 27th if you want to see change, positive change, and to help our students. Thank you.
Okay, so now you have heard from all the people brave enough to run for trustee on the mountain. If you want to hear those people who are brave enough to run for trustee in wards 3, 4, and 5, I invite you to join us tomorrow night at 7 o'clock at Sir Winston Churchill Secondary School, where we will be doing all this all over again. So now we move on to the next part of our program, which is the prepared question that they were all the trustees were given in advance to prepare for. They don't know right now which question they're going to answer. This is just so much fun. I know they're just thrilled to be here and doing it this way. So, we have, if you have programs, what we have done is taken the questions that are printed in the programs and assigned them numbers 1, 2, and 3. So question number 1 will be, how will you be the parent-student voice at the school board for your constituents? Question number 2 is, how will you engage your community to build the parent-board relationship? And question number 3, there have been many changes at the HWDSB. How will you help your community move forward? So, do we want to go random or just across the table in random numbers? Across the table with random numbers? Okay. Who wants to go first, Kathy or Chris? Chris. Come on up, and we're going to pull a number out of a hat.
I don't know if I'll be able to stand the suspense here.
I know. Well, you pull the number, and we'll see how it goes.
It's blank.
It's
Hey, I'm off the hook.
Seriously. 1, 2. Well, hold on. There's 3. Sorry. Try again.
Okay.
It was a test, and he passed.
Number
1. Okay, so you know which one that is, right there?
Yes.
Okay, and I think you've got 3 minutes.
3 minutes?
And our lovely timekeeper will once again tell you when to be quiet.
Okay. Have problems telling me when to be quiet. All right, so I'm here to answer the question, how will you be the parent-student voice at the board for your constituents? Now, the school board's had some problems with this in the past, as a lot of you well know. We had the ARC process in a few communities in the past and with the high schools, and parents and community members especially have felt that they've been ignored here. Here's what I propose. I think we can agree that ARC is dead. It doesn't work. The trust in it has been totally lost. Let's get rid of it. Let's start again. Instead of a committee that's convened just when the board is looking to save a few pennies, let's have a permanent standing committee. Instead of an ARC, let's have a LEAP, a local education advisory panel. Standing committee composed of representatives from the school council and the home and school, of all the schools in a ward or in an area, student leaders, especially the high school level, but also, the grade 6, 7, and 8 student councils, members of the community that aren't normally associated with the school board. That could be community leaders, it could be activists, what have you. The point is, what we need to remember when we're considering schools is we can't consider in a vacuum. There are lots of other uses that school properties have beyond the standard reading, writing, and arithmetic, if I can use that. You have the green space that's being used by various community groups, even just by members of the community to go for a walk, play with their kids, that kind of thing. You have the school facilities that are being used by groups for sports and theater and that kind of thing. And if we take away their facilities, where are they going to go? Especially in Ward 8. There's the new West Mount Community Center and Senior Center, and that's good, but there are a lot of other places in the ward where there just isn't really many facilities like that. And I think we owe it to the members of the community and the parents and the students to ask them, look, what do you think we should do here? We shouldn't go in there with a predetermined, we want to do this, let's rubber stamp it and get it out the door. We need to actually have a dialogue with the community to make these decisions, because community members, they know the community a lot better than somebody in an office somewhere. Thank you.
Is it Al? You're next up. I've retired the bag. We're just going to do pick a card, any card. There you go. Oh, same question.
Same question. The way I would try to be a voice for the parents, being that I was one of those parents years ago, where I did go to the board and stated all these good reasons why things needed to change the parents' way and got ignored, I would have that background where, so when parents come to me, I wouldn't ignore them. I would try to work with them and try to do more. I think there's some policies and procedures that are sort of slanted, that it's not helpful to the parents. I would like to see us look at more, go into the policies and procedures that would be sort of anti and sort of against parents, and try to remove them so that the parents would have more of a say. And we really have to start to repair some of the problems, like with the councilmen. I know lately the councilmen have not been working well with us, school trustees, parents, teachers, and so I would want to rebuild those relationships, because we need all these relationships strong, because it's really not about the trustees or the parents or the teachers and all that. Everything's about the children. It's children first. And so if it doesn't all work together, that the children have a safer school, they have a bit better experience, they get better education, then we're all in trouble. So I would want to rebuild all those relationships and change some policies that would strengthen the parents' view and strengthen their say when it comes to their children in the school system. Thank you.
Okay, I'm trying to think. Is it Dawn? From Ward 7? Don't pick the same one. You didn't.
I got a new one. All right, I picked question number 3. There have been many changes at the HWDSB. How will you help the community move forward? Okay, so I would say that the biggest changes that have happened over the past few years have been school closures and school closure decisions. And so moving forward, that has got to be one of the priorities for any group of trustees, to ensure that we help communities understand what decisions happened, why they happened, really what was the data they were based on, what can be changed, what can't be changed, and then we can finally move forward, heal, and bring our communities together in new arrangements. First, when I get to the school board, if I'm elected, I do want to question the data. We have seen already a boom in enrollment in kindergarten this year in the elementary schools in the Central Mountain, and we were told that we were on a declining enrollment. So I think that has to happen as we move forward with school closure decisions, whether they've already closed or whether they're happening next year. If schools are going to close, another priority is going to be transitions. Of course, we have some students that are scheduled to move from one school community to another, and we know that can be a really challenging time for students and families. So ensuring that those transitions happen as smoothly as possible and in a positive way is going to be critical. I also want to make sure that we advocate for promised investment. Sherwood is a perfect example of $30 million of unfulfilled promises. We've been told on the Central Mountain that there will be investment in Central Mountain elementary schools as a result of closures. I want to make sure that that is a priority and that happens now, because those funds have been frozen for a number of years because the review is coming. I also want to see changes to the ARC process before we ever put another community and another school through that process. I have already met with Executive Superintendent Pam Reimhold. I've already suggested 12 pages of changes that need to happen to the ARC process, and I would continue to advocate for major changes to that. Lastly, again, we need to look at data from the perspective of what data are we using for future decisions and what data are we using to get funding from the ministry. Right now, I have serious concerns about some of the data for capacity reporting to the ministry that is impacting the money that we're getting for our schools. This is a chronically underfunded system. We need to fix the funding formula. We don't have the control over that at the local level, but we certainly have control over how we report things to the ministry. And I think there are some creative solutions that can really improve how we can deal with funding issues in Hamilton today. Those are a lot of the priorities moving forward. They're certainly not exhaustive, and I'm happy to take any questions outside of this forum. Thank you so much.
And running for trustee in Ward 8, Wes Hicks. This is 3, same one. Same one.
Well, that's very interesting, Don. I picked the same question. The most positive relationships start within the school, and the school must support the decisions that are made, and you get that through the school councils as well. When we started the process, it's important to understand where we were and where we want to go on it. And when we started the process of change, the most important thing was to set up the initial transition team. And the initial transition team was based up of all the stakeholders, the community, as well as school councils and all the other individuals. Those transition teams met on a daily basis with the superintendent. They brought the information back, and from there, the guidelines were set for transition those students into the new school. Tracking was extremely important. When you talk about transition students, you must track them, how they're doing, and when you do track them, you have to make sure that you put the support services in place. The other thing that's important in transition is you have a student voice, and you listen to the student voice when you're making change within the board. It's extremely important that when you look at the program strategy was based totally on where we're going. And the program strategy is based on that every school, when we end up, will be great school. Every school will offer all the programs. There will be total equity across the system in programming. In conclusion, that we want to make every school a great school by promoting all pathways and courses. We want to enhance student voice and choice. We want to strengthen equity of access, opportunity, and outcomes across the HWDSB, create a system of great schools through more course offerings, expanded choice, and strategic placement of special programs and intervention. When you look at when we're finished with this whole process, that's the goal. If you go on the website, you'll find out that the programming strategy is developed into 3 tiering systems. That's another example of really important part of what we want to accomplish at the end. Thank you.
And now we have Tanya. Sorry, also running in Ward 6, double checking to make sure you don't tell them the wrong thing.
And I also got question 3. It's okay, yeah. So I think one of the first things that needs to be done, especially with Ward 6, is there's a lot of broken trust, a lot of, I don't want to so much say hurt feelings, but I think the first thing that needs to be done is that trust needs to be regained for the trustee by the people. It's a ward that seems to be torn apart by decisions that have already been made. We need to move forward and quickly. There's 4 ARCs upcoming in this ward within the next 4 years. C.B. Sterling and Templemead in 2017 and 18, and Richard Beasley and Lisgar are 2015 and 16. There needs to be some understanding about what the ARCs do to communities. Ward 6 is a prime example. You have neighbors pitted against neighbors. Kids that should be going to a school that's being used as a holding school right now. We need to make sure there's no language boundaries, no misunderstanding. And I think that's one of the first things that the new trustee needs to do. You need to fix those damaged relationships and come together as a community, something that's been lacking in Ward 6 for quite some time now. We need to work together to make the ward a better place for everyone involved, not just the kids. Thank you.
Somebody down in the audience. Sorry, Sarah, right? Yep, Sarah. Oh, hold on, upside down. Yeah, don't pick 3. You're good.
So what's number 1? How will you be the parent-student voice at the board for your constituents? Well, this is something I would love to do, and this is pretty much my whole platform because we all know this isn't happening now. Many times when you were at the ARC, it seemed as if you had a voice, but no one was really listening. Sorry, I'm nervous. Okay, so during the ARC, a lot of the times I presented data while it was happening and it was being ignored. Several parents also, there was also issues with the school information profiles. The general care of the schools were questioned, why certain schools were being run to fail. Then that was the excuse to close them, right? They're in not good condition. So if I am an elected trustee, what I want to do is make sure that I'm engaging with the parents, the students, the teachers, the school staff, and everybody within the school board. I want to be able to build a good rapport with the community. That way we restore the trust. There's a lot of people that are helping me with my campaign, and one of our jokes is pretty much to put the trust back in trustee because we know it's been lost. The whole relationship with the board has kind of been rocky, and we need to restore that because as a community, we need to make sure we set our differences aside regardless of what's been done to move forward. That way we do what's best for our children. If elected, I will make sure that I'm there to answer any questions and concerns and bring them to the board, to be your voice. No parent should feel alone if they have concerns, and they should not go unaddressed without having phone calls or emails returned. I will be there to speak on behalf of the parents regardless of what the question is, and regardless whether I feel it's something that should be done or not, I will always be the voice of my constituents first. They will be the people who tell me to go to the board to tell them what it is they want. I will never come to the people from the board and tell them this is what's happening regardless of whether it's good or not. I will make sure that the constituents in my ward are heard and that their voice come through me to the board. Sorry, it's so nervous. Yeah, pretty much I will bring your questions to the board to make sure they're heard. I didn't run to try to make friends or to have a banner to run with a torch. I want to see the education system restored for our children because if it's not, I don't want to see in 20 years from now we have no economy, we have nothing left because we've closed schools for money. The amount of bureaucracy that's taking the money from our education system is ridiculous. Our children can't do math, the literacy levels are low, and if we don't change that now, it's going to be horrendous. So yeah, I think parents need to have more of a say. If they have more of a say and understanding of the curriculum especially, student achievement will rise. When the parents know what's happening and they're able to bring that back home and help their children in the relationship between the parents and the teachers and the school board and everybody in the community is strong, we can strengthen the community and strengthen our children's futures. Thank you.
I'm going to ask, oh, sorry, I was going to get Angie up here. Okay, sorry. I was going to get Angie Armstrong, who's running for trustee in Ward 6, to come up and take the next turn at the microphone. So there we go.
Number 2. I have number 2. Mm-hmm. And the question is, how will you engage your community to build the parent-board relationship? What an excellent question. I think that as a board trustee, first of all, You have to fulfill your obligations of the Education Act. It's great to have lots of rhetoric, but there are processes that are in place. You also have to follow the governance process. As your trustee, I certainly understand a lot of those things. Obviously, my kids are all grown now, but I've been through that process with my kids and with my grandchildren. I'm now very much involved with them. What is important is that you have to be a voice, but you also have to bring correct information back to the residents and the community. You have to engage the teachers. You have to know what they're doing in order to make good decisions. And I feel that it is great that we all can have an overview of this, but my perspective on this is that the key issues, obviously we're talking about school closures and then all those kinds of things, but we need to have the data, and I think that was mentioned already by Dawn, and I think that with all the trustees working together from all the different wards, we have to come together. It's not just about Ward 6 or Ward 8. I think when we're all around those tables, some of those issues are very specific and they're right across the board. So my involvement will be to have the parents. I would love to have a parent as part of this process. I think you need a voice from the parents as well, not just the trustees, because they're looking at the bigger picture. But I think you have to have some grassroots involved in order to have that collaboration. So moving forward for me, I would like to participate and have sort of a round robin with parents, teachers, and students, because we're talking about schools, and it doesn't matter what age you are, you do go to school too. But I think from the students' perspective, we're not really hearing a lot from the students. I would like to see some involvement, especially from the high school students as well. You know, if we don't have a good foundation, we will not have the results that we need moving forward. My mission is also to be a vital part of the solution in saying that we are facing all those challenges, such as the school closures due to the decline in enrollment, and research suggests that a major challenge within the school system is the high dropout rate. Now, in order to be an effective society member, you've got to have education. In order to participate and to make good decisions, not just for the schools, but for your lifeline. So I think that moving forward, I personally will be the type of person to work with every single one around the table. Thank you so much.
Sorry. You probably did. Which ones were yours? We had this one? Is that yours, all this?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Is this one yours too?
No.
No? Okay.
No, I don't.
I told you we were just accumulating papers. It is yours. Okay, good. Okay, that one's mine. There we are. Okay. And we have Eamon O'Donnell running in Ward 6, about to pick the magic card. Number three.
Question number 3. There have been many changes at the Hamilton-Wentworth District School Board. How will you help the community move forward? As I've been going through door-to-door canvassing, on my second pair of shoes, by the way, and speaking with residents from Ward 6, I've heard a number of concerns on a variety of issues, but none was raised more than the need for accountability to the community and an increased opportunity for parents and students to be heard at the board table. This is in line with my beliefs and experiences as I worked for the past 4 years to lobby the board on closure issues. It is very difficult to be heard as a community member or a parent at the trustee table. As your trustee, I would work hard to build relationships with parent or home and school councils at each Ward 6 school and any school or Ward 6 where residents of Ward 6 might attend. While the new Nora Francis Henderson is slated to be built in Ward 7, I believe that those students from the former Barton neighborhood are still the responsibility of the Ward 6 trustee. I would also explore the opportunity for more regular communication to the broader community through email updates, and where appropriate, community forums. Additionally, the role of a trustee can't be limited to simply sharing information for parents to achieve their wish for a louder voice. They must also be willing to participate. I would provide the information required for parents to work together to make their voices heard, and I would work closely with parent groups who are engaged in all board happenings. Further, I would work with our city councilor to create a necessary partnership with the city. First and foremost, though, I would work to heal the divide between several of the communities in Ward 6 and help residents to transition through the changes as positively as we can.
Okay, running in Ward 7 is Marlon Pickin, making his way over. Pick a card, any card. There you go. Numero 2.
Let's see here. You know, looking at the questions actually before coming in tonight, it was remarkable how interrelated they all were. And I think the first impression I had is it sort of speaks to the breakdown of democracy that we've seen over the last 4 years at the board level. My question is number 2, how will you engage your community to build the parent-board relationship? That's a great, that's a great question. The platform that I'm running with this election speaks to the idea that we need a complete revisioning of how we have that sort of trustee community engagement process. What I've been seeing is, you know, individual visions and individual ideas being expressed when in fact I believe the role of the trustee is to be moving on your collective vision of what works for the ward, what works for students, and works for your neighborhood. I think that the most powerful thing that we can do is as trustees is move on that mandate. And how do we get that? How do we build that collective vision is having a consistent, honest conversation with residents. And it's more than just a one-way conversation. So I can say, you know, the trustee needs to send information home through report cards or newsletters. But at the same time, I believe it's the responsibility of the trustee to facilitate opportunities for the community to come forward. So whether that's, you know, a booth in the gymnasium on Parent-Teacher Day, whether that's making their personal contact information available so you can reach them 24/7. Because I remember being a student and there was an emergency that that wouldn't be able to wait till the next day. It's that kind of accessibility I believe parents are looking for, and it is a lot of work to develop that collective vision. But I believe that when we reach that piece, when neighbors and community decide what's best for them, if a closure is what's best, if to tear down a school is what's better and partner with the city on a rebuild with a community center attached, it's up to them to determine the course of the future for their communities. I feel like over the last 10 years that I've worked on boards and committees, or volunteered on boards and committees in Hamilton, I have an idea of how we can move forward to get those ideas moving, cognizant of language barriers, accessibility issues. I really do genuinely believe that the mandate that I should be running on if I was elected trustee is the vision that you have, and maybe not necessarily moving head first into an idea of the director of education or my pet project. So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, and last but certainly not least, she married to get the A name and she has to go last. Sorry about that. Kathy. I should say Kathy Archer, running in Ward 6, sorry. I'm supposed to be professional.
That's okay. I got one. Well, I think I talked about it before, about being a voice, parent-student voice. My term in 2003 to 4. I need these to see, to read, not to look at. Some of you know, as a constituent from, resident from Ward 7, and myself, we masterminded the Save Our Schools website, and we created that so that we could hear the voice from parents, because there was a lack of communication on the mountain through all wards there. Parents were asking, calling, what do? We want our voices heard. So we kind of orchestrated that and got that up and going. It's still running. I haven't gone on to see the last time somebody commented on that. But I still have been very involved behind the scenes. Weekly, I still get calls from parents that need help in the system. I was a victim as a parent when my son was in Highview, and one of the reasons why I wanted to run for school board trustee is because of the lack of communication and accountability. He was one of 8, our family was included, of a hit list. And to not get communication and answers was very frustrating, and we were left out in the cold like we were the bad guys, and we were the good guys trying to get through the system and the hurt and whatever went on with the situation, and not getting questions and phone calls. And that's something that I know I keep stressing, but it's something I was very proud to say I did and continue to do. I never used a computer until I was elected. I was given a laptop computer and sent home to work with it, and a BlackBerry. And I found it a little challenging, but I mastered it. And, I was very proud to be able to return emails. Sometimes all the emails were sent back to everybody, and they weren't supposed to be, shared with everybody, but I learned, and that's something that you've been hearing from Ward 6, is we want to be heard, our voices be heard and shared, and good luck to everybody here, and thank you very much for the opportunity to put my name forward and run again. Thank you.
It says closing remarks. I don't really have any closing remarks. Other than, now we do move on to the portion where we're going to entertain questions from the floor, and I think we're at about 10 after 8 right now. Is that right? So we've got about 20, 25 minutes to take questions from the floor. I see that there's a microphone set up down here and over here. So if you want to make your way to the microphone and address your question, if you want it to go to a specific trustee, say so. If it's just anybody in general or any question at all. Should we set a time limit on answers here? A time limit on answers? We don't want it to go all... Yeah, how about if you get asked a question, we'll give you about 2.5 to 3 minutes to answer it so that we don't monopolize the whole time with one questioner or one trustee. Does that sound right? Okay with you? 2.5 minutes? Okay. Go ahead, sir.
My name is Mike Russ. I've been a member in this community in Ward 6 for about 12 years now. Moved in about 12 years ago, and this question's for Mr. Miles. That's okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
We found it takes quite a sufficient amount of time to in a community to lay down roots. And for me and my family, it took a couple years to actually lay down roots. How effective do you think you'll be as a trustee while not residing in the Ward 6 community? I'll sit down while you figure that out.
For me, it's more important that your heart and your passion. For me, Ward 6 has been my heart and passion. My family, there's a road named after my family, Miles Road. For me, I've been in, I've coached. I've been here. I've been probably 20 years resident of Ward 6, and All I can say is I have a passion and a heart for Ward 6. That's why I chose to run in Ward 6. Because you can choose to run anywhere, but I chose Ward 6 because that is where my passion is, and that's where I'm going to spend all my time. And I don't mind. I do agree. We do get a lot of trustees in, and all they do is they make sure they make the monthly meeting, and they want to make sure their agendas are met. But to me, it's more than that. I would love to go to every school, see every principal, see the teachers. And my job, because of my schedule, I get a lot of time during the week because I do a lot of work weekends. So I have no fears, no problems. When I make a commitment, I will put 20 hours if it takes 20 hours, if it takes 30 hours extra, I will put the time in, and I will go to every school. And I guarantee no one will be at school more than I will be at the school, because that is my passion, and that's all I can say.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Hi, my name is Mark Harrington. I'm a resident in Ward 6. If I could, I'd like to address this question to all of the Ward 6 candidates as individuals. You know, over the last 4 years, there's been a great deal of change, a great deal of things happening in Ward 6. We've heard tonight that there's going to be a further great deal of change, 4 more arcs and coming in 4 years. I'd like to hear from each candidate, what concrete action have you taken in the last 4 years to forward the interests of the students and parents in Ward 6? What have you actually done? That would be to each of the candidates.
Do you want each of them to respond?
Yes.
Okay, can we start with maybe Kathy and a minute each? What we have done? Do you need, the microphone's working?
You know, everybody's coming in and saying, we'll love you accountable.
Yeah.
For you. That's all great. But what have you actually done? What's actually happened?
Well, like I said, I started the SOS to get communication, and actually what started that was staff coming to us with concerns and asking questions and things like that. So we started that website up so that we could hear from people and try to communicate. We found it very difficult to try and get the meetings and keep track of when the meetings were. In the beginning, I found it very difficult. I attended meetings when I could, but it was very difficult trying to catch in times and locations too. That was my frustration.
Okay, you want to pass it? Yeah, just pass it down to Eamon there.
It's for Ward 6. As I've said previously, I became involved with the board ARC review of the South Mountain, and with excuse me. So parents came to me and friends said that Sherwood is being closed, and what can we do about it? So as a community member living in the Sherwood area, I decided to use what skills I have to help out with to prevent the closure of Sherwood Secondary. And my skills, obviously being in the building industry, there's a lot of information on what was referred to as recap data, so which has been proven again and again as false information, it's or unwarranted, or it's not. There has been no on-the-ground verification of the numbers that they're using. So I got quite heavily involved in that aspect. So I'm done again. Sorry, I've got more to talk about, but.
Okay.
I'm going to come.
You're going to come up? Okay.
Sure. Oh, sure. I will do.
Now, that's an excellent question. I just want you to know that I do live on the mountain. I live on Central Mountain. I actually live in Ward 7. But I'm right on the borderline. So my 2 grandchildren go to school in Ward 7. And I thought about running in Ward 7 versus Ward 6. So the reason I didn't run in Ward 7 is because I didn't want to see it as a conflict. So what have I done? I'll let you know, based on the types of things that I've been involved with. I'm a very community involved person, and maybe I do a lot of things behind the scenes. However, I did speak to some parents regarding Sherwood, and I've actually directed them to write letters directly to the school board. I couldn't actually get involved as such, but I did direct them to do that because it's important that if you want to create change, you have to be a voice. And a lot of people want to do things, but they don't do anything about it. So I've directed them to actually write letters, say what the problem is, and see what kind of feedback. Some of them never got any feedback. And that's another problem. And I've done it too.
I think Tanya is in Ward 6.
My involvement up here with the arts hasn't been very much. I will be very honest about that. My children just entered the school system 4 years ago. However, I did get involved with the East Hamilton ARC last year. I went to Woodward School, which is closing. I have friends that teach at Woodward School. So that ARC really grabbed a hold of me. I've looked at the data, I've seen the flaws, I've helped with their appeal process and saw that just explode in their face, unfortunately. But as of up here, I haven't had as much experience as some of the other candidates have.
As soon as the Barton was closed, I went to a few townhouse meetings where they sent someone to study about school closures and what has to happen to stop them. In that meeting, in fact, that's when I found out that freezing schools and just holding it steady isn't enough. You have to take the fight to the provincial level, and you have to get them to change their pay structure. That's what I found out. Their pay structure, what they do is they pay so much per square foot. And if you really want to make the change, the permanent change, you got to get them to change their pay structure, and so that we get more money to fix our existing schools rather than putting the $1 billion and $2 billion into these mega schools which don't work.
Okay, come on down to the microphone. Oh, did you have a question over here? Go ahead. And then we'll go over that way.
Hi, my name is Amber Ward, and I'm the chair of school council at Armstrong School. I was also the parent rep during our process for this, so this is directed to Dawn. I'm going to start with a quote that we received from you during the process. In the event that Queensdale Public School closes, we will move our children to our other community school, St. Peter and Paul, and change our tax allocation accordingly. The board will lose the enrollment of our children through both elementary school and high school if we are forced to make this change. How are you as a trustee going to be unbiased towards other schools, namely Armstrong, when you feel so strongly against your children attending it? During the ARC process, both yourself and your husband were very vocal about the entire process. In fact, you both took matters into your own hand, and during a public meeting held at Armstrong, you both hijacked and disrupted the meeting. When questioned about it afterwards, you stated that someone told you to do it. If you are elected trustee, is this something that we can expect from you, that you will do as told by someone else and have blatant disregard for other members of the community? What are your plans to repair the damages that have been caused in our communities, and how can we believe that you will focus on all schools and not just Queensdale? Thanks.
If I don't answer your entire question, I would appreciate if you just clarify if I missed something. First of all, the quote that I would send my children to the neighborhood school had nothing to do with not willing to send my kids to Armstrong School. We chose our house on the Central Mountain. We chose to have a family there. We purchased it long before we were ready to have kids because we chose to live near a neighborhood school, a walkable school. We have a daycare provider that is like family, that would not be able to accommodate children going to Armstrong School because of the distance. It's not a walkable school for where we live. I understand that it's close, and I understand that it offers many opportunities. I've seen the signs out for the plays that you offer in the community and family nights. It was nothing against Armstrong School. It was saying that our priority for our family was to be at a neighborhood community school, and that's what we were fighting for. The second part of your question, I think, was about disrupting the meeting at Armstrong. As we went through the meetings, through the ARC process, we attended the working group meetings, we attended the public meetings, we consulted with people that had just been through the high school ARC process. We discovered how flawed that process was, and unfortunately, there's a few of you here that were on the ARC they put you in a really difficult position and did not give you good data. Every time we asked a question, we did not get reasonable answers or answers at all. So what we were doing at that meeting was not meant to be disrespectful to people's time, and I understand that really it could be taken that way. It was not meant to be disrespectful to Armstrong School. It was meant to stop the process in its tracks. Our goal was to try to stop the public meeting so that the ARC process could not finish on the timeline that was allocated, and then we could get a new board of trustees in who could change the process before we actually went through it for the elementary schools in Central Mountain. I do not believe we got the best solution for the Central Mountain. Unfortunately, we may be stuck with it at this point. So that was the purpose of disrupting that meeting. And of course, I do apologize for people that felt that it was a waste of their time to go to that meeting. There was one more part to your question.
We can discuss that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Was there somebody moving to the microphone over here with a question? Yeah.
My question is for the three candidates from Ward 7. I've often heard people say this, and I've read it in the paper. I've seen examples of it in the paper, that people are really unhappy with the math curriculum, and that it's called Discovery Math is a bit more confusing for students, and we would like to see more of a combination of more practical math. That there's a concern that kids can't add and subtract in their head or do multiplication and division. And so I hear that over and over, and I know I've noticed it with newer graduates, that they seem to be deficient in this area and reliant on calculators and so on. So my question is, if I were, as a community member, to come to a trustee and say, I think this is bad, I think this approach is bad, it's not working well for students, how do you take that back to the bigger board, to where there's the trustees, and there's your school board, and there's our director, and there's the Ministry of Education who says that this is the curriculum, you must teach it this way, even though the community is saying we're not happy with the graduates' abilities. And I feel the answer we get back from the ministry is live with it, wait, it's going to be great. And then what if it isn't great? In 10 or 20 years we have a lot of graduates who are deficient in this ability. How will you take it back? And my question is just, when you talk about being the voice, where do you go with the voice? Do you just go talk to
this is for the candidates in Ward 7?
Yeah, where you just go and talk to the other trustees? Do you go to a committee? Do you go to a particular staff person at the school board?
Do you want to take
I don't
first
even know.
this one?
Can you tell me?
You done, Vicki? That's the question. I wasn't sure if you had finished.
Well, it was a long question. No,
it's an interesting
I just think we just keep asking it and we get told, nope. And so you're going to take the question somewhere else, so where will you take it?
Like, from my understanding of the question, it's not even necessarily about math, which sometimes can be scary. The question is about how do we advocate for things that we perceive to be outside of our control as a board, is how I understand this question. And how do we have an effective fight back, if you will, against the province advocating for the community, the students, and the parents that are communicating their needs to us. I think for us to increase the legitimacy of the board as a democratically elected body is to actually have that consistent two-way conversation as a foundation. So when we're actually doing the work, not the ARC process, that's a fixed game, we have an open, honest dialogue around needs and desires and the collective vision of our communities. With that, the trustees move and they can go to the province and say, we have the city of Hamilton and its 500,000 citizens and they need X, Y, Z. You say, like with this math, what is math? What if it's not fixed in 20 or so years? We have a funding formula that's approximately as old as that is now. So an 18 to 20-year-old funding formula that's broken. And consecutive liberal and conservative governments saying that they're going to fix it, they just wash it away. It's broken and it's not getting fixed. And it's at the point of a crisis. No longer do we not only do we not have the money to repair our schools, programming is being compromised at this point, and that's what I'm hearing from teachers and parents. So, you know, at what point does it get to the breaking point? But I'll tell you, I don't know how much legitimacy I would have unless I have that legitimate mandate from the residents to go to the province and say enough is enough. After 20 years, this is broken, and have that kind of an approach. So whether it be the funding formula or the curriculum itself, we can successfully advocate for our children and for our parents. Thanks, Vicki.
Sarah?
Can you hear me from here if I just talk? You guys can hear me? Okay, that was one of my things I wanted to talk about. More math resources, push for curriculum change, bring in trade apprenticeship math. I have actively, during my campaign, been contacting the trade unions within the city and surrounding area, asking them what they feel about the current math curriculum and what they are seeing from their tradespeople that are coming in. My family is very strong back tradespeople. That's how we make our money, our living, and that's what our livelihood depends on, is a good math. We know many small independent contractors who are having problems hiring students out of high school into apprenticeships because they have very weak math skills. So this is one of the things I would sit down, if elected, bring forth a motion to my fellow trustees and ask them whether they would feel the same, if their constituents felt the same, and bring this, one, to the Ministry of Education, also the surrounding MPPs in our city, kind of put it out to the rest of the province, because we know the rest of the province has a problem with this as well, and they're voicing the concerns. And I think that's what we would have to do, is collectively work together with all levels of government and kind of push the Ministry of Education to say, listen, we know it's not working. We can't wait anymore for you to wait to tell us it's going to work if we want our children to be successful. We can't, they're relying a lot too much on technology. Kids don't know the basics to do math. Times table is pretty much gone. I've seen it when my daughter was in grade 4. They just taped it to the desk, and when I asked how she was supposed to do that in her head, well, she doesn't need to. Well, the thing is that I want my children to. I shouldn't be sending my children to school and then have to, when they come home, be teaching them because it's not being done there. So if elected, that is something that actually is on my platform to bring up, to make sure that that's being addressed and bring it to the province, to bring in the municipal government, bring in the provincial government, and if need be, go in also to the federal government and say, listen, this is potentially going to destroy the future of our kids if they can't do basic math and implement it into their future for their career. So that is something that's been addressed to me from residents of Ward 7, and something that's on kind of my platform, and something that I've addressed. Oh, sorry.
Dawn, did you want to comment on this as well?
I'll try to be brief. There's two parts to that question. One is the math issue. There is an issue with our math literacy for our students. As a parent, I am seeing it. Teachers are having issues with discovery-based math. Yes, the province sets the curriculum, but the local school boards do have the ability to set policy that controls how that curriculum is rolled out. And so the province doesn't reach down into the classroom and tell the teachers what to do. We do have control over that at the local level. And so I think that's where we need to go back and look at our current policy and our direction. What is our strategy for math literacy for students, for example? And at the board level, that needs to be discussed. It needs to be looked at citywide, because any policy impacts the entire board, not just one area. One example of things that we can do that are fairly straightforward is look at funding for reaching out grants for parents. At my local school, I was successful in getting a grant for this year to bring in someone from Jump Math to help parents understand how to help their kids with math. But I would love to see that curriculum change. The other part of it is, what is the role of trustee? And so again, if we're looking at trustees making policy at the local board level that impact how things happen in the classroom, that is an important role. The trustee also has a role in making sure that the federal and provincial government authorities understand our local issues. And so it is important, as Sarah was mentioning, to bring that forward to those levels of government, because that can help us to make change broadly across Canada and improve education for all students.
Thank you. I'm just going to make one little editorial comment. Somebody said math is scary, and you're just saying math isn't scary. It should be scary. It's a wonderful thing. Russ, did you want to make a
Yeah, I'd like
comment?
to respond just briefly and assure the audience that the board takes the math curriculum very, very seriously. And we have math facilitators. We put more resources into the math. Dr. Malloy, that's one of his directions within his evaluation each year. So there are a lot of things, great things happening with that direction. And I understand your frustration, but the board understands the problem with the math scores. The board understands and has put in strategies to help. And we're just starting to do that. And we're putting more money in the math programs than any other program. That's the direction of Dr. Malloy and the trustees. The other issue that I think that's important is that trustees meet with the MPPs on a regular basis. We bring them in, we meet and we talk about it. We talk about what our vision is and what our strategies are. And we want them to take it back to Queen's Park. And in most cases they do. But if it's frustrating for you, it's just as frustrating for the trustees, because when we meet with the MPPs, very seldom do we get any input or anything coming back to us on it. So I just want you to understand that the board isn't asleep on this one. We are really concentrating. We're trying to get to the right people at the right political level. We're putting the finances in, and I can assure you from the director's evaluation, that's the top one that we're looking at.
Okay, I think we have time for one more question. I saw a gentleman over here.
This question is directed to Dawn. Trust is a major issue with most voters, hence the word trustee. How can we trust you as a trustee to look out for the interests of all the children in the ward and not just the interests of Queensdale residents? As well, not a lot of voters have seen information in regards to your platform. I, being one, have been blocked from your website. I'm not able to access it, yet other people are. I don't know if that's because I've been vocal in response to some information that was provided by your husband on his website when he referred to one of the voters in our ward as an old lady. And when I contradicted his remarks, all of a sudden, I don't have access to view your platform. How can we trust you that you're going to be the one, the voice at the table for the voters in Ward 7, and not a puppet under the puppet strings of your husband?
Okay, settle down.
Dawn, do you care to respond to that?
Sure.
Okay.
You know what? There is some level of animosity. Phil was on the ARC committee. That was one of the meetings that my husband disrupted, and I gave back the mic, but certainly I was involved in that. And so I can understand that there has been a breach of trust with certain members of the community. It's a great question, though. One of the reasons I had to stop and really think about whether or not to run for trustee is when it comes to the Queensdale community, that is the community I initially got involved over, that's where I live. It will be a conflict of interest for me to do any kind of vote that involves that school. And so I am giving up my ability to be involved locally in my child's school. I'm giving up the ability to vote on issues that affect that school. And really, this was a big decision to look broadly at all of the schools in Hamilton. We have some amazing opportunities to make fantastic changes. There are great schools in Hamilton. Linden Park was a great school despite the fact that it didn't get infrastructure investment. Armstrong is a great school despite the fact that it also needs infrastructure investment. Ridgemount, I was so impressed at your parent council at what you're doing at Ridgemount. You know, obviously that's a fantastic school. And we can't even ignore the schools that weren't in the review that are overcredited, like Helen Detweiler and Ray Lewis. What's the other one? Lincoln Alexander is going to be undergoing a review coming up as well. So this decision was not easy because it means I am hands-off in my own community. And so I'm hoping that that means that I can build trust. I don't know why you're blocked from the website. I will get my IT person to look into it because I have a few people handling that. I didn't realize we could even block you from it, but it certainly wasn't the intention. I hope that answers your questions, but I'm happy to talk to you later.
We're actually over time, and we're in a school, so we have to be out of here by a certain hour, or, we turn into pumpkins, I think. So we are going to give you the opportunity to chat with the trustee candidates out in the lobby, and you can ask any questions out there. I want to again thank all of you for coming out tonight, especially given the dismal weather that we're having. I think it's just wonderful to have this kind of turnout. We're very, very pleased. I also want to thank all you people for putting your names forward, first of all, to run for school board trustee and putting yourself out there. And I know it's a very daunting experience to run, and it's probably extremely daunting to sit up here and have your name pulled out of a bag and all that kind of thing, and we do appreciate it. I think this is the fourth time that the Hamilton-Wentworth Council of Home School Associations has hosted events like this for all candidates, and we're very proud to do this and to offer this opportunity to the voters to come out and to meet and to ask questions of the people who are putting their names forward for trustee. I wish you all good luck in the election. I encourage you that if you are not successful running for trustee, to come and join your local home and school association, where we can certainly put all of your enthusiasm and your knowledge and your skills to good use. We're always looking for good people, and there's a job for everybody at the home and school. Speaking of which, I want to let you know that the home and school has a website now. It's brand new. We've been around since 1933, and we've had a website for, I think, 13 days. Anyway, thanks to Michelle from Dundas Central Home and School Association for setting it up, and we're at www.hwcouncil.wix.com/home and school. We also have a Facebook page, and I know since the first announcement about these trustee evenings that we've had a lot of traffic on the Facebook page, which is wonderful. We're always glad that you can post there or ask questions there.
Excuse me.
I think that's it.
Until 9?
Yes, we're here till 9.
So there's still 20 minutes for questions, right?
Yes, and we're suggesting that we can you can meet with the trustee candidates so that you can speak to people from your own ward out in the lobby. They've all agreed to make themselves available for that. Okay.
It'll be
So
20 minutes. So can we ask your questions right now? Go ask your questions. What's the question? I'd like to hear the question. 47, will you say and hear my boyfriend's question in front of everybody? Because he's obviously taken the time to come here. I'd like to.
okay, but then if we there's how many people? 3 people in Ward 7, and then that cuts into people's time to talk to trustees from Ward 6 and Ward 8. So we're doing our best to satisfy everybody and to give everybody the opportunity to talk to the trustees. So you're certainly welcome to speak to the trustees from Ward 7. If everybody from Ward 7 wants to meet over there, then you can all talk and whatever you want to do. We're just doing our best to try and level the playing field for everybody and give everybody an opportunity. So, again, thank you to all of you for coming tonight, for making yourselves available. Thank you all for coming out. And you can check our website and Facebook page to see when the next, our next meeting is actually tomorrow night for wards 3, 4, and 5. And then there are other meetings coming up next week for the different wards. So you can check and you're more than welcome to come in. So, thank you all for coming.